Hey everybody, I'm Doug, that's Connor, and you're listening to the Bethel School District Presents podcast, the podcast that promises you all the school district news you can use in 15 minutes or less, or the next one is free. And we have a heck of a show for you today. We're going to introduce you to our newest school board member. We're going to talk about why Johns Hopkins researchers are heading our way to do a study on Bethel, and it's not because of some proposed state budget cuts that are going to impact us. We're also going to talk about that. And Connor, you have an incredible student you're going to introduce us to in just a bit.
I am, but before we get into that, as we always do around these parts, we are going to do some useless trivia. And Doug, since you were yapping it up to start, I'm going to just jump right in on mine first.
That's fair.
And Doug, I have a feeling you're not going to believe mine, so I did bring receipts, as the kids say. But here is my useless trivia.
What?
Doug, did you know that McDonald's once made bubblegum flavored broccoli?
Okay, that's fake. There's no way this is true. You're a liar, and I'm just going to say it on air.
I thought you might say that. So it is true, sort of. In 2014, McDonald's then CEO Don Thompson publicly mentioned that the company had experimented with flavoring broccoli to taste like bubblegum in an effort to entice kids to eat more vegetables. The ideas never actually made it onto the menu, though, because they were taste tested by kids, and the kids got really confused, understandably, and they abandoned it. But they did make it.
What a waste of good broccoli. Man.
I love broccoli. While we're talking food, let's hope yours is about food, but let's kick it over to you, Doug, and see what your useless trivia is.
Mine is not about food, but it was a nice attempt at a transition. I do like that. So I'm reading a book about Winston Churchill, and of course, myself and probably everybody knows him from World War II. So prior to that, of course, he had a life and a lot of careers and some ups and a lot of downs and some failures in his careers. So in 1931, he's on a lecture tour because he just lost basically all his money in the stock market crash of 1929. So he comes to New York, and he's looking for his friend's apartment, and he looks the wrong way across Fifth Avenue, and he gets hit by a car and almost dies.
Sheesh.
Yeah, really wild incident. I didn't know about it, and of course, he's in the hospital, and this guy worked like all the time, so as soon as he could, he was dictating his new book and also an article called My New York Misadventure. He sold the article for $2,500 and then went on a convalescent trip to feel better in the Bahamas.
Well, and good thing for him, his organs were all pickled by alcohol, so he didn't have to worry about any of that.
I also read somewhere, I didn't fact check this one like I did this story from the International Churchill Society, but I saw he had something like 3,500 cigars in his residence at all times.
Just the picture of health.
Well, Connor, let's get things going. You recently visited the Pierce County Skills Center and talked to an amazing student. Let's hear that interview.
And I am joined by Pierce County Skills Center senior Kaylin. And Kaylin, it sounds like you've had a couple eventful years in the automotive tech program. Your teacher, Mr. Anderson, told me that you've had quite the experience with the Skills USA competition during your 2 years in the program. Can you give us a little rundown, the greatest hits, as it were, of how you did in those and what's coming up for you?
Of course. So last year, as my first year, junior in high school, I went to both our regional, our state, and our national level. At our national competition, I placed 7th in the country in my customer service competition, as well as I got one of the most incredible job offers working in my current position at Cummins as their youngest female diesel technician. And with that, I've now carried over continuing that job both by working at school and then going to finish out my career. And then this year, again, at Skills USA, with being a state officer, I have also competed in a regional level, and I placed first or second in all 6 of my competitions this year, which is putting me in a good position this year for state.
That is absolutely incredible, and I don't want to just gloss over the fact that you are a high school senior and this company offered you a position making you the youngest female diesel mechanic in their company's history?
Yes, sir. So as I know from the moment with talking with all 3 of my bosses, I am the youngest female employed diesel technician that they have seen. So in my position, I get to work alongside our senior techs working on basically anything, whether it's from small generators to our fire trucks and our super heavy machinery. I've done things as small as the oil changes all the way up to full engine rebuilds on my own.
That is really fantastic. And in your 2 years here at the Skills Center, can you talk a little bit about how Mr. Anderson and the rest of the team here and your fellow students helped you get to where you are now in terms of being able to land jobs at prestigious places like this?
Yes, so over the 2 years of being in this program, I have gotten 22 job offers and 6 scholarship offers, both between being here at the Skills Center and where the Skills Center has taken me, such as Skills USA competitions. There has been moments where I have struggled to wonder where I was going next, but there's always that little voice of either Mr. G or Mr. Anderson sitting there in the back of my head telling me that you can or that you should. I came into this program as kind of the quiet person in the back of the room, not really doing much, and then I got introduced to Skills USA, got pushed to be one of our state officers, and now because of their support and their continuous push for the best for me, I now get to be the voice of the thousands of students across Washington State for Skills USA.
That's really amazing. And so you will be graduating here pretty soon. What does the future hold for you? What are you going to do after you graduate?
So by the time I graduate, I will be signing on with Cummins for 6 years in what they call their TAP program. So it's basically Cummins' version of like their college platform. So with that, I get to have all of my training paid for. I get a $10,000 toolbox to go along with that to kind of help get the tools started and ready. It'll be 4 years of actual schooling. So every 4 months, I travel out for like 2 weeks to go and do in-person training out in Indiana with the company, and then I'll come back. And so that kind of happens off and on for 4 years, and then there's the extra 2 years afterwards that kind of just says I'm sticking with the company. And then I will have all of my engine certifications from our light duty all the way up to our high horsepower and heavy duty engines as well.
That's really, really exciting. Well, good luck in the future, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, of course.
Well, congratulations to Kaylin. Amazing, amazing work there. And again, the Skills Center really setting the bar for setting kids up and getting them ready for life after high school, life during high school. She's already employed with a fantastic job. I love the stuff that they're doing over there. And you can't run awesome programs like that for free. We need money from the state, and that is why these proposed state budget cuts that are coming our way are going to be a real problem.
Yeah, they could be. The Washington State Legislature is in session, and the House and Senate have released their 2026 budget proposals, which include recommended cuts to education. Now, those cuts could equal millions of dollars lost here in Bethel.
Yeah, and our superintendent, Brian Lowney, said 2 items on those proposed budgets are particularly concerning for our district and others. The first is a funding reduction for local effort assistance.
And you may or may not remember, because we did bring this up when we were talking levies, the LEA helps property poor districts keep up with property rich districts. So the LEA in Bethel is more than $12 million annually of additional dollars from the state that only comes when local levies are approved by voters. With our levies now passed, Bethel's counting on those LEA dollars to fund our budget. A reduction would be very concerning for our district.
It absolutely would. And another funding reduction the state is looking at is that of transitional kindergarten. This is one of the programs where we help preschool students get ready for kindergarten, and cuts here would reduce the number of classes we're able to offer. Superintendent Lowney said the biggest learning gap is actually in our kindergartners.
We have kids that can read Harry Potter books when they enter kindergarten, and we have kids that don't know their colors. So the learning gap is immense, and transitional kindergarten is one of the vehicles that we employ in Bethel to help our students be ready for kindergarten, and we have data to support that.
So the takeaway here is it's time to speak up. Both of these reductions would be massive, massive losses for our students. And our school board was in total agreement at a recent school board meeting. They all spoke their minds. So right now you're going to hear from Board Vice President Teresa Casio, from Director Rosanna Camacho, and from Director Terrence Mayers.
There is a surplus money. It's shared on the state PTA page. They have the funds. Why they're trying to cut education is ridiculous. And everybody talk to your legislators.
It is a travesty to students all across the state that public education is not 100% funded.
It just seems to be like the first thing that they always cut is our education, and like enough.
Well, if you want to get involved, if you want to email or contact your legislators in Olympia, you can find their information online. If you don't want to search for it, you can go to bethelsd.org/news and look for the article titled "Proposed State Budget Cuts Will Impact Bethel."
And that wasn't the only big news that came out of the recent school board meeting. The board also appointed John Manning as the new school board director for District 2. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because Manning used to be the director of District 2 as well.
He was. He actually served on our board for 16 years prior to this. He's also a retired veteran and had 2 kids go through the Bethel School District. And during his public interview, he really spoke passionately about what he loves about Bethel.
People in Bethel care. They care. I mean, you talk to the janitors, the groundskeepers, the ladies in the kitchen, the secretary, everybody cares. Yes, we all have problems. We have to address them, what have you, but they all care about the success of the students.
The board also held a public study session focused on the Behavior Task Force and its work strengthening social and emotional supports for our students. Staff and teachers from Notchies Trail and Evergreen presented.
And they really did a fantastic job, as did Shirley Anderson. She's a 22-year veteran teacher from Thompson Elementary. She's also the Bethel Education Association's treasurer, and she said Bethel's work around behavior began in earnest in 2018 when the union and administrators began their work together towards potential solutions.
It was hard at first. Admin sat on one side, teachers sat on the other side, and it was them and us.
But as the two sides got into the work, the lines fell away and the team began to gel. They worked side by side to identify the problems and seek out research-based solutions to create behavior systems at each of our schools.
Both admin and teachers wanted systems in place. Admin were just as frustrated as we were. That's what we found out coming to the table.
And over the years, the work of the Behavior Task Force has spread. Each school now has its own Behavior Task Force. The District Behavior Task Force is, of course, still working hard, and they're making big changes here, and that is drawing some national attention. Anderson said that they recently met with a school district in California over Zoom who was just beginning their work on student behaviors.
And so they wanted to know what our process was. They invited us to a Zoom, so we sat down and we Zoomed with them to go over our process with them so that they could come together.
Tracy Overstreet is a veteran special education teacher at Cedar Crest Middle School. She's also the BEA vice president. She said the ongoing work and collaboration is critical and deserves to be recognized. In fact, she said the team presented at a conference in Spokane just last year.
It was packed, so it was really good. Administrators want to work with their unions and do this collaboration.
Well, I love when Bethel gets national attention, but it's most important how this is impacting our students, and it's impacting them in a really huge way. In fact, in studying some trends at 9 of our schools, we found out that some of them actually had a 75% reduction in suspensions. Now, that is an incredible leap forward, and that has drawn the interest of Johns Hopkins University. They're going to send a research team out here and dig into our story and see what we're doing right.
Yeah, and back at home, school board president Marcus Young said all this work has been critically important to the success of our students.
I do want to give kudos to you all because I was here when we had people coming for our public comment who are staff members talking about discipline. And I remember when you all said we're going to collaborate together. And so just to know how far that collaboration has brought us and the results that it has brought us, I definitely want to give you all kudos for that.
Well, this has been a jam-packed episode. I can't believe we fit it all in under 15 minutes.
That's why we got to be quick here. Bye, everybody. See you next week.